Let's get ready to rumble!
Benzinga Nation, jam-packed show today. Peloton up 5%.
What's up, disciplined investor?
We got Benzinga CEO Jason Raznick here with us.
The man, the myth, the legend, Tom Nash.
Peter Schiff on the Power Hour with us live today.
Interesting, different, unique, innovative companies.
Mia, you are live with us on the Power Hour. What's up?
Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Jessica Billingsley, that is the CEO of Akerna.
The best trade idea resource out there.
What is up, YouTube, Zinger Nation? We are debuting a brand new show this evening. I am here with Josh Pitts, aka Dog Guy Josh. We are going to be talking about alternative investments.
Hi, thanks for having me, AB.
Yeah, of course. Josh, real quick, let's give our audience a little bit of background, about your story, kind of how you got into investing in different alternative investments.
Sure. Well, ever since I was a kid, I collected sports cards and, played, trading card games and things like that. And the recent boom has really brought, a lot of new platforms available to us. So that was what I wanted to talk about today. Growing up, I was always one of those kids who, saved all my cards. And, when I was in high school, I would open packs and try to sell them to other kids and, sell sports caps and other things. So I've always had a little bit of a hustle in me. For a while, after I graduated high school, I went into the military for a couple of years after 9/11. Really just did away with sports cards for a number of years because of my adult career. And then recently, because of COVID, kind of fell back into it and realized that, wow, I really have a passion for all this. I want to learn as much as I can, absorb as much information as I can, and share that information with others.
Yeah, and I know, something we have today in 2021 that we didn't have, back in the day is we have all these sites now and different platforms that are kind of making it easier for investors to get into different alternative investments. So I think tonight we're going to go through a couple of these different sites. Do you have, one in particular you want to start with?
Yeah, I've got a couple sites for us today. I wanted to do two things. First, I wanted to go over some equity fractional share investing apps for collectibles themselves. And then I also wanted to briefly touch on some Regulation A or equity crowdfunding platforms as well. And the reason I wanted to bring these up in today's show is because I feel like each one presents a great opportunity to not only learn the markets and see what's out there or see what someone out there might be interested in investing in. But also there's times where, sometimes we're trading or we're investing in stocks and there's market lulls and we don't always know what to do with our money. And I think for anyone who's got some extra cash or maybe just a couple bucks who, wants to put like anywhere from 1% to 3% of their portfolio into alternative investments, some of these platforms can be something worth looking into. So we're going to look at a couple of these briefly today. I'm briefly going to scroll through some of the offerings for each one. The first one we have pulled up is collectible.com. And then we're going to talk about maybe some of the things I see as potentially being of value long-term and possibly in the short term.
Yeah, and chat, if you have any questions about collectibles or alternative investing, drop your questions in the chat. We're going to take some time toward the end of the episode to answer those questions.
So collectible.com is a site I have signed up for yet, but I personally have not got anything through. However, they seem to have some of the most offerings available, as well as trading. And as you see here on the main page, they have some of the featured assets. These are probably some of the most popular ones on the platform. As we scroll down, you're going to see assets that are currently trading. You're going to see assets that perhaps the marketplace has picked up and they're getting ready to offer to their players. Just like auction sites, they like to preview these things ahead of time so that you can do your price research and things like that. And then they show you some of the things that have been funded before. So maybe you want to jump back into those when the trading opens up. And then there's also some ones that they've sold for their members. So you'll buy into an asset and someone will come to the platform and say, hey, that card you got, I really want that for my collection. I'll buy out everyone. And then so the platforms will send out emails to you and you as a group can decide, whether you want to liquidate that asset or not. So let's take a look at some of these featured assets. I always like looking at these first because these tend to be some of the most popular. So, like anything, like any stock or asset, you're going to want to do your own research and due diligence. Make sure you're checking out, the year, the trading history, and the value of the assets. Arguably many of these assets right now that are going for record price tags, are overvalued. You could say that this Patrick Mahomes is overvalued. Especially if he were to break his ankle, God forbid, or something like that this season. But then you look at something like Mickey Mantle, and you might think, wow, this card has stood the test of time. It's an iconic card. I can't believe it's only selling for 100,000 compared to this 1.6 mil. Maybe there's an opportunity to get in on some Mickey Mantle right now while it's undervalued. That may be something you have to make your own determination about. I can't do that for you. So these are some of the things you can find on collectibles. Typically what you'll find on collectible is sports cards. I believe they also have a lot of memorabilia. So you'll find like bats, ticket stubs, and things like that. But occasionally, I believe they also have graded video games and comics and some of those other types of things. To be honest, I haven't looked through this platform a whole lot. So,
Wow.
but anything so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool because the thing I like about this is you can kind of try to invest like based on the player. So, for instance, you mentioned the Patrick Mahomes one might be overvalued now, but say you buy some of it and Mahomes wins 4 MVPs in the next 5 years, then you can bet that asset's going to appreciate. So you can kind of, pick and choose. It's not like you're just picking a random sports card and hoping it goes up.
Yeah, and like anything, we all have different investment styles, and some of us might prefer items that are long-term investments, and some of us might be just looking for a quick flip. And I think the variety of offerings on these platforms really allow people to do that effectively.
Yeah, like I see right there, they have a Fernando Tatis Jr. one, who of course has only been in the league for a couple years. So, that could be one that's like a high risk, high reward. If he ends up being as great as some people think he is, then you can bet that asset's going to go up. If he, doesn't pan out, which a lot of Major League Baseball players that's happened to, then, you could be sitting on a little loss.
Yeah. So as we scroll through here, there's a lot of
Uh-oh.
on the app itself, on the Rally Road app. Oh, I wonder what happened here.
Sorry, I think my thing lagged. I had to refresh it real quick.
There we go. So on the Rally Road app, you typically have these categories on the side. We have memorabilia, comics and literature, vehicles, watches, and wine and whiskey. One of the reasons I wanted to start by showing you the wine first was that I think wine presents a particularly unique opportunity for arbitrage in the modern day. And one of the reasons I say this is you can Google search and look at some of the wine platforms that sell some of these high-end luxury wines, and you can actually get an idea for what the population count is on many of these items. And so one of the things I like to do is start a spreadsheet and track not only the price of these, but how many are in the population. And week to week, as I'm doing my weekly checks on the prices, when I start to notice that populations are dwindling, I look for opportunities to come in and buy those wines for a discount when they're trading, and hopefully sell them in the future. Many of these are probably long-term holds. That's again something people have to do their own due diligence on. But I thought I would mention that because I don't think people typically think of wine as something they can invest and trade in, but there's actually quite a bit of opportunity in these types of assets. Watches and luxury items are another one. I actually have a share. We'll show you my portfolio here in a minute for some of these, but handbags, if you're a person who knows a lot about this kind of thing, this can be, another great opportunity to arbitrage or invest in some of these.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's what's interesting about trading these sort of assets is you can kind of gravitate toward what you know best. Like we have cars right here. I don't know too much about cars. I think I know more about sports. So I personally would be more likely to be trying to trade some of like the sports memorabilia as opposed to the cars. But As you said, people might not think of wine as something you can invest in, but there are people out there that make their whole living just on trading wine and liquor and stuff, so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. One of the things I like about the vehicles on here is I haven't seen anything like this. A lot of us will see the Barrett auctions and anything, things like that, but I've never seen a fractional share platform where you can invest in vehicles. And I just think this is really cool, especially if you look at some of these where you think, wow, 65 Mustang Fastback. I know those are getting more and more rare. There can't be too many like this still in their original condition. So just like an old wine or a stock or anything else, some of these can really go up in value over time. And it'll be really interesting to see what happens to the combustion engine vehicles like this when most of our vehicles become electric. I know on Benzinga we talk a lot about the transition to electric vehicles, and so personally, I'd lean on the side of I think some of these cars are going to go up in extreme value once electric vehicles become the standard, at least here in our country. So vehicles could be a good opportunity here, especially if you're a car person and you know a lot about vehicles. There's just there appears to be over 24 vehicles just right here on this platform. So definitely worth checking out if you're into that. This comics and literature tab is probably my favorite tab on Rally Road. You can get, a piece of the Declaration of Independence. You can get Gone with the Wind. They have something here that most of their items are not only timeless, but they transcend generations. So that's one of the things that people look for in collectibles is not only rarity and provenance and some of those types of things, but also is this something that's going to increase in value as time goes on, or is this something that a generation just isn't going to care about once it becomes old? And I think that's a really important thing with any collectible to ask yourself before you get into it is this something that's going to stand the test of time, or is this something that's just not going to have any value? So on here you'll find a lot too, so it's pretty neat. But you're going to have these timelines essentially. So if we go all the way back to 09, you can see that this sold for $3,000, back in 09, and has since gone up almost 700%. So, and it's only switched hands. You can see on the screen there that there's been 5 transactions. So this particular item has only changed hands 5 times, and each time, people have been willing to pay more and more for it. So you're going to get a lot of this museum grade stuff on here as well. We can see there was another sale, with Comic Connect recently, and I'm guessing this was the purchase of this asset from Comic Connect. And so the platform itself is trying to raise slightly more than that. So anyway, that's definitely worth something checking out. And then the last tab we have over here on Rally Road is Memorabilia. Now this is going to be similar to collectible.com. We have our sports cards, but we also have some other unique items here, such as the Super Mario Brothers. And this one's kind of interesting. It's pending a $2 million buyout. There was one of these that recently sold at Heritage Auctions for record-setting millions of dollars. I think it was like 1.7 million or something, 1.3 million. So over here, we're going to get some very unique items that you're not going to find anywhere else. And that's one of the things I really like about this platform too, is they're doing their first crypto sale. Hey, look, we found Waldo. We got this CryptoPunk here. And so we've got things like the lunar meteorite. If you're into code breakers, we've got an Enigma machine from World War I, I think, or World War II. We've got all kinds of different sports cards. So like Mia Hamm, you can find, I think they have the Rock on here. Yeah, here's one of the Rock's cards. So that's pretty cool. I actually own a piece of the Rock on another platform. I think it's a really cool one. And then we've got some odds and ends here. We've got like Megalodon Jaws coming soon. And okay. They have an original iPhone, which I tried to get in on that one at the $10 floor, and within seconds that was up to $30. I have a piece of this Tiger Woods card. I think that's going to be potentially a good one for the long term. Don't own this Messi card, but I'm definitely tempted in that because there's not a lot of soccer cards in print in general. So compared to other sports like football, baseball, hockey, there's probably less soccer cards than anything, except UFC because that's brand new. But I own a piece of this Dwayne the Rock Johnson card. I think I own one of Serena's cards down here. And so they have some other unique things on these platforms. A lot of graded video games from Wata Games and those types of things. I think I own a piece of that Top Sun Charizard as well. So a lot of new types of things like this Halo Combat Evolved. And 10 years ago we probably never would have imagined seeing something like this graded and on a platform like this, but here it is. Some people have gotten incredibly lucky and doing well for themselves. Sitting on old sealed product. So that's another strategy people like to take in order to sell these items to these platforms. And I think I own a picture of this or a piece of this Zelda as well down here. So that's our other one, Get Otis. Again, this is an app. You can get it in your Google Play Store or iPhone store. And so that's pretty much it for the collectibles side of the conversation today. Does anyone have any questions before we quickly go to the Reg A stuff?
Yeah, I see a couple good questions in the chat. Sorry, Josh, I had to switch spots. I don't know why the Wi-Fi or the internet kept cutting out. But Lori was asking, handbags can be a good investment. This is appealing to these group buys. So yes, Lori, these are essentially you can buy shares of a asset as opposed to buying the whole asset. Very few of us can go afford to buy a $500,000 1982 Ferrari, but we can buy shares of it on these sites. And and then the site, whether it be Collectible or Rally Road, will go out and sell those assets, and whatever the return is, percentage wise, you get reimbursed that. Is that correct, Josh?
Yeah, that's correct. And you can buy as little or as much as you want. I have a background in poker too, so I particularly like the term bankroll management, whether it comes to stocks or poker or anything else you do. I think it's important that you know what you're investing in, know why you're investing in it, have a plan to get out and get into your trade, just like people always preach on this channel, and have fun with it. Invest. There's nothing wrong with investing in the things you want to be invested in, just like the companies you want to be invested in. So.
Yep. And Justin in the chat, I don't know if this is your brother, he's asking, is this the value for one share or a full asset? So I believe when we were on like Collectible and it was saying, 20,000 for that's the value of the total value of the asset. I think most of these.
That's correct. That is the value for the full asset.
I believe most of them have, like shares at $10. So you can buy, $50 worth of something on Rally Road or Collectible.
Yeah, most of them will be at the $5 and $10 mark, which I think is a great price point for anyone to be able to get in and buy a piece of it, right? I actually started out on Otis, and I started with just $5, and I turned that $5 into $50 within a couple months, just buying and selling things. And then I decided, well, I'm going to buy $5 of 10 things now to diversify and hold on to those, see how I do on those. So you can start out small, you can go big. It's really kind of up to you. You can be an opportunist. There's lots of different ways to play these.
And then Isaiah's asking, from a high level, especially with such a saturated market, are NFTs more collectibles or more collection or investment?
It's a good, NFTs are a whole other thing. That's definitely something. If we continue doing this show in the future, I would like to definitely talk more about NFTs. I've been really getting into the space myself and getting some digital picture frames ordered, and I think there's a lot of potential in the NFT space to support artists and artists supporting each other. It's just a really beautiful thing, because that was something that previously they didn't really have available to them, and now we can do it from anywhere in the world. So that's pretty remarkable. I know we only got a few minutes left, so I briefly want to go through these last 3 sites, and then we'll try to save 5 more minutes at the end for questions. But real quick, the next site I have for you guys is Start Engine. I'm already logged into my dashboard here. I was going to show you a couple things I've invested in. And this is actually Kevin O'Leary's platform. I believe he became an equity holder in this company a while back and promotes it now. But I've been on this platform since its inception. I absolutely love it. I wish I had more money to invest in more things on here because there are some incredible opportunities. You know, we talk about micro caps and small caps and things like that on Benzinga, but some of these are the ways to get into some of those equity options before they come to the public markets. And that's why I really like these. You know, I was an entrepreneur minor in college, and I ran a couple businesses over my last 20 years. So I've become more literate in these types of things, and it's actually a lot easier. It seems a little scary at first, but I actually like doing this versus stocks in some ways because it's very boring. I can put in my investment and not have to worry about it for years. So real quick, Boxable is on this platform. Some of you might have heard about that. That's from Elon Musk, supposedly, you know, living in a boxable house. I don't know if that's true, but Boxable's on here. I didn't complete my investment in this yet. Graze is another one. I'm going to pull up this one real quick because I really wish I would have completed this investment. If I can still get into it, I'm going to get into it. Yeah, offerings closed for now, but they may do some of these places on here do offerings in the future. This one I thought was incredibly cool. You know, there's iRobot and some companies out there that specialize in consumer robots, but these guys are going for the big golf course market. You know, they're going for these autonomous lawnmowers. I thought this project was really cool. They raised well more than their goal. And this is one that if I could hold on to these shares for years, 20 years, I probably would. So I just wanted to show you guys that real quick. I have 3 investments on here. I have Rumble Motors, which is a electric bike company. I'll just show you each of these briefly. I haven't done anything with this yet. I haven't had the shares transferred to my broker. I haven't done anything like that. But these guys create an electric bike. I think I originally heard about these guys on Casey Neistat's YouTube channel a few years ago, so I decided to get into this. I thought it was a really cool offering. The next one I got into was Solectrac. Some of you might have heard of this. It's the electric tractor brand. This company was recently bought out by IDEX, ticker symbol, or Ideanomics. They actually bought this company. So I originally invested, I think, $285 in this, and I recently got a check, I think, for $475 for selling, basically as part of the acquisition deal. You know, people that had crowdfunded had to relinquish their shares. And so it was unfortunate, but I am also an investor in IDEX, so it worked out for me. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. So so I was super stoked on that. You know, I make money on both sides is the way I see it. So Solectrac, I thought that was a really cool one, but there's this really presents some really good opportunities to get in on some things. Atlas Motor Vehicles is another one I got in. It's only 300 shares. This company actually ended up moving their Regulation A over to their own site, but they are building an electric vehicle. And while I do have a Cybertruck on order, this is kind of like my potential backup electric truck. And I like the Ford Lightning, all that, you know, yay Ford. But this truck, these guys post their videos on their YouTube channel about weekly, if not daily, on all the updates and things they're doing to build this thing. And I think this is going to be one of the most incredible trucks on the market. So I got into this about 2 or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, I think. It might have been about a year and a half ago. I was really excited to get into this company. So anyway, Start Engine, if you guys go through here, there are some really cool, let me close these tabs real quick. There's some really cool startups to explore on here. Hey, look, there's Kevin. So one of the things you can do is search for keywords. You know, it's just, this kind of looks like an Indiegogo or crowdfunding type site because that's kind of basically what it is. But you can get equity stakes in companies. So they have some interesting things on here. I think in microventures, the other site I'm about to show you. Yep, microventures. So on this site, I have $100 invested in Remedy Processors, which is a cannabis company. I don't know why it's not letting me click on it. Let's see if we can go find it. So Remedy processors, they do extraction process basically for the hemp, CBD, and cannabis industry. I thought it was a cool project when I heard about it. It was here in my local state, California. So if I was ever down in the area, I could probably get a tour and check it out a little more. But this is one I'm invested in. Pardon, we're having some issues with the site here. Oh, not that.
Yeah, I think this site's really interesting because it allows kind of people that are typically stock investors to kind of do a little bit of both. You can do your DD on a company, decide if you want to be an investor on it, and then have early access.
Yes, and when you're an early access investor through platforms like this, I find that there's a lot of social interaction on Twitter, especially with the founders. The founders are actively out there promoting their campaigns and trying to answer people's questions. So it's really a great time to get in on the ground floor. However, as an investor in some of these companies, I will say over time, I've learned that some of them are going to take a while to get off the ground. These are very early stage companies. You're talking anywhere from 1 to 10 years, typically. I'd say on average, probably 5. And some of them do additional equity offerings, and there is dilution of shares sometimes. So when you are investing in these things, I really encourage people to take a long-term view, because some of these investments, once you're in them, it's not like you can just go online and reverse the credit card charge and get out of it or something like that. You're kind of stuck in them. I mean, basically, you should kiss your money goodbye, right? Once you've invested in these, pretend it's gone. Poof, it's gone.
Yep, that's basically what I did with my money that I had invested in my Masterworks. I pretend like it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's really the best way to go about investing on these, I find. And you do it for fun. You do it because you want to support other entrepreneurs. You do it because, there could be a deep long-term value to that upside, and all you're out is your initial investment. So something to keep in mind.
Got it. All right. Well, we are coming up on the 6:30 mark. So let's take this time to take any questions from the chat. I'll pop the questions up on the screen as they come in. But yeah, I mean, I think we went through a lot. Oh, is this a different site?
This is WeFunder. This was just the last one I had up. Similar to MicroVentures and the Start Engine, it's also a site where you can raise equity and participate in equity financing rounds.
Beautiful. Yeah, let's wait there's a little lag, so we'll wait to see if the chat has any questions. But yeah, I think for our first episode, we went through a lot. We went over the basics of, alternative investing. And yeah, I think this is definitely something that maybe even if it's not something that you want to start doing with a lot of your money, it's just good to have diversification across the board. So if all you have,
definitely. I have about 3% of my portfolio in alternative investments. That's might be kind of high, maybe closer to 2%. And I feel like it's a great way to add a little diversity, take on maybe a little extra risk with a lot of potential upside.
Yeah, definitely. Shelly's asking, have you ever had one of these companies do an IPO?
Ooh, there have been on Start Engine. I believe there was, I can't remember the name of the company, but there has been a lot of acquisitions through these sites as well. A lot of companies will start out here and do their third B, C, D round, and then eventually get acquired by someone like Sequoia, for example. I have heard of a couple stories like that on here.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me. I mean, I think a lot of these smaller companies are acquisition targets for bigger public companies. So if you invest in one early and it ends up getting acquired, then you get a nice little check, a nice little chunk of change. Well, all right, Josh, it looks like we do not have any other questions flying out of the chat. But I had a good time learning about this stuff with you.
Hey, thank you, AB. I appreciate you guys having me today. If you guys have any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter at DogGuyJosh. I have another handle coming soon at Fabled Finds, and hopefully, we'll be able to get a blog going and maybe do a YouTube channel on my own and some other things in the future, and help people learn, increase their financial literacy when it comes to alternative investments.
Beautiful. Yeah, I just threw your Twitter in the chat, so please go give Josh a follow. But yeah, well, looking forward to another episode of this.
All right. Thank you, AB. Thank you, Benzinga.
Of course.